Now it's my enormous pleasure to ask Ali to come up and talk to us about, again, Monty Python, something completely different.
Thank you so much. Yeah, like Luigi said, a producer needs to wear multiple hats, and I'm doing that today. Yeah, so today I'm going to be talking about video games beyond entertainment. Over 2 decades ago, my father brought home our very first console. As soon as I had my hand on the controller, I was like amazed and the word showing on the screen. Hours being melted, it's suddenly 8 p.m., the bedtime. I asked my dad, can I play a bit longer? Dad gave me, the anger look, like no. So I actually went to bed, closing my eyes, waiting for tomorrow to come faster so I can continue playing. Then suddenly I've heard music, the video game music playing from the living room. What? So I snuck from my room, putting my life on the line here, being caught, and I did peek. And actually, my dad was sitting in front of the TV playing games. That image, that moment, it's still in me since ever then. Later on, I was playing a lot more with my dad. We used to play the Tank Force, I guess, where you, 2 tanks protect an eagle or something. So the first real connection with my dad, where I feel like we have something in common, was actually through video games. And I was playing games since then. Later on in my journey, by the way, I'm sharing this image for the first time, so you guys are special. I look happy. It looks like I'm winning. It's not happening often. Maybe I need to have a tiger on top of my screen. I can try that after. So my passion for games ignited love for technology, which led me to study computer engineering. And that truly shaped my career completely. Even though I started in a different industry, which is one of the amazing audiences said she's working in the marketing, I started in a completely different industry, but my passion for games led me to finally end up in the industry, and I'm more than happy to share after how I've done that. So yeah, given this journey, you know why I'm standing before you today with this passion for video games on a mission to deliver a message, why games are important and why we should play even more. And hopefully, by the end of the talk, you will be ambassadors and carry on this message. Okay, so I am Ali, senior producer at Star Stable Entertainment, Stockholm-based company. We are working on, or being known for our game, Star Stable Online, an MMO horse game for girls. We've been around for 12 years. Senior producer, what that means, we've been talking about producer for quite a bit. It's actually I have 25 developers reporting to me and 4 tech leads. According to my wife, I play games, which is very expensive for a playtester. I'm very lucky to be working with the really 2 amazing schools. I am a teacher and mentor at Future Games, and also a board member at another fantastic school called the Game Assembly. So the power of gaming. In this presentation or talk, I'm going to be mentioning few sides of it because, like William said, it's quite a big topic. So I'm going to be starting with cognitive benefits, how games are virtual trainer for our brains and how they are enhance our adaptability and problem solving and critical thinking, which is something extremely crucial. In a research done by University of Glasgow, actually they have linked the academic achievements to playing games. So basically, playing games on the target group, the students who have done that experiment, their communication skills improved, resource management, which is amazing to see that, and adaptability. And like William said, it's a skill essential to survive the AI and the fast forward of technology so you can maintain a career. And by the way, all the links for the researchers will be in the last slide, and I highly recommend to check them and read them. They're really interesting. Some games being part of the study were I'm pretty sure you're aware of maybe all of them, Borderlands 2, Minecraft, Guardians of Light, yeah. And of course, that's not it only, how also games could leveling up our mind. Problem solving. I really like that we say that usually IT softwares solve a problem. But in games, mainly we create a problem so the players can solve, which is really interesting way to look at it. One also different aspect, spatial awareness. When you play in a game, you're aware of your surrounding, and this is something, if you play a Battle Royale, like take advantage of the terrain, attention and focus. A lot of games requires a lot of focus. When you're, like example, your teammate asks you not to peek because there is a sniper somewhere, and you do peek anyway, and you die. So attention to focus is something the games enhance a lot. Resource management, like maybe 2 weeks ago or something, Evil Line announced they have an add-on to Excel. So you can, if you have an Evil Line account, you can have an Excel add-on, so you can resource management. It's just mind-blowing. So you basically use Excel to play games. That's something mind-blowing, to be honest. Decision-making, when you, sometimes in game you need to do tough decision-making, which could be determining the journey of your game, and Witcher 3, we need to choose your soulmate. It was quite tough for me, at least. Critical thinking, how in video games you do analysis, communicate and take fast decisions, and sometimes time is not in your favor. If you look at job descriptions, you see critical thinking as always something being mentioned as good to have or soft skills are needed. So basically, by playing video games, you're acquiring skills are actually mentioned in job descriptions. So that's how important playing video games. Social benefits. When COVID hit hard, or like let's start with this one, connection. If you ask a lot of people who work in the industry, why we work in this industry? Of course, we're looking for an impact. And connecting people is one of the main reasons that actually we do that. And games connecting people on multiple levels. Indirectly, where you have an amazing single-player experience, you have community on Reddit, Facebook, Discord, just chat about the experience, give tips, help players to do that. Or could be indirectly. Let's say if someone is struggling. Anyone played Kind Words? You know the game? It's a fantastic game. I highly recommend check it out. Basically, you log on, you log to your PC, and you receive anonymous messages from people who have a really hard time. And you reply to them and support them and give some advices with amazing music. It's a wonderful game. So basically, you are indirectly connecting with people, which is a wonderful way. Or you can play, you can place a props in the environment and help other players to cross, like in Death Stranding. Or you can just leave a message telling that there's an item ahead in Dark Souls, and you jump and there's nothing, you die. So you can connect in people in different ways, indirectly or just directly. You jump to a World of Warcraft or any multiplayer MMO game, you play with strangers or your friends. When COVID hit hard, lockdown was the worst part of it. Even though, like William said, COVID changed our ways of working, our ways of thinking, still, lockdown was a really tough time. So how people used games as a social lifelines to maintain the need for connecting. So, for example, people used Animal Crossing to celebrate their birthdays, anniversaries, graduating. Being 25 years old in Sweden is quite a big deal. And my colleague, she actually told me 2 weeks ago that she celebrated her birthday during lockdown in Animal Crossing, and she had all her friends there. So that's how people use games to maintain social lifelines. Or you can jump to a social game like Among Us and just blame yellow because yellow is sus, and that's it. You don't need to have any good evidence. So people use games to socialize in different ways. Emotional benefits, how games could improve our mood, self-confidence, and understanding each other. Another study showed that actually game time connected to well-being. And the study shows that, it was a collaboration with the AA and Nintendo, the Plants vs. Zombies and Animal Crossing. And it's proven that increase in well-being and motivation while playing, and the longer you play, the more you sustain that feeling. Imagine that, motivation and well-being. I would really love if those researchers did that even before playing. Like, how many of you guys, when you go home excited about the game you're playing and just can't wait to reach home so you can play that game. Or a game is about to be released next week and you're really excited. So in my opinion, even games might be affecting well-being and motivation even before playing, not during and not even after. So it's just amazing how to see like correlation between well-being and playing games. Another research by Columbia University shows that positive effect on young children who plays games and shows that socially cohesive with peers. So it actually improves how they connect with the other children and how they are integrated in the community at school. Of course, keeping the screen time limit as a parent is always crucial, but also really interesting study to look at. Educational benefits. Even though while the traditional look at games are not educational medium, I disagree with that. Passive learning, how much you can learn from playing games in general, but I'm gonna, in this slide, mention a couple of games. You can learn scripting programming by playing a game like Wild True Learn. Anyone have seen this game before? It's actually really wonderful. You play as a programmer with the cat, try to do some interpreter so you can communicate with the cat and use visual scripting similar to one being used in Unreal and different Unity recently. Or you can just learn about blood type by playing this game, or history in an Eye of Assassin, or playing GeoGuessr. I've personally learned like geography from GeoGuessr way more than I did in my high school. So games are a great tool to teach, and big companies, they start to realize that, even though William don't like the term gamification, but actually companies are try to make important material a bit boring to teach by making it more like a game, so it's easier to digest by the audience. But when games can go way beyond all these benefits I have mentioned, learning, cognitive, all of them, when it goes a lot beyond, empowering and accessibility. One of the biggest reasons, like I said, we play games is impact. And in games, there is no physical limitation. In real world, sadly, there's a lot of limitations. It could be disability, where you at, financial. It could be a lot of limitation for you to do things, or it could be even impossible. But with video games, you can take the pilot seat and fly around like landmarks, enjoy being a pilot, or slaying some monsters as a witcher in a fantasy world, or having your own horse in a magical island of Jorvik in Star Stable Online. I'm so happy to see that actually in our industry leading the space in accessibility. For example, Last of Us 2, 60+ accessibility feature. I don't believe there's any medium on earth actually accessible more than like video games right now and some games like Last of Us 2. Of course, we have a long journey ahead of us to be even more accessible, but it's really wonderful to see that we are actually leading this space. Some player testimonial, like some comments among hundreds, if not thousands of comments we receive from players who plays our game. I'm gonna start with the first one. Star Stable Online is my sanctuary for my depression. And because I have an allergy to paws and hooves, it's impossible for me to ride a real horse. Similar to everyone with suffering the same allergy, but with Star Stable is possible. So basically in this case, she loves horses, but she will never ever be able to ride a real horse, but she's able to do that in our game. Second one, Star Stable is my second life. If I'm having a bad day in real life, I log on to Star Stable. This game always cheers me up. I feel safe in this game. This kind of comments we're receiving and a lot more. Just I want to mention something quickly. If you are listening to this and you are feel like in suffer or in pain, please, even though games are really like a good way to comfort that, make sure to always speak with a trusted family member or professional. So that's why we make games. This is what kind of impact we're looking for. Life is not always nice. And like Annika shared actually in her talk. And one day, sadly, we got the shocking news of one of our players sadly died. It's always sad to see someone is leaving, especially at a young age. And it happened more than once. And that's how the community decided to honor that person and show respect and support to their beloved ones where they have the final ride. So that's how games can go way beyond just being an entertainment medium and be something really meaningful. I'm going to end my speak by asking questions. Are games just an escape from reality? Giving everything I said, I would say games are a lot more. Games are that vibrant corner of our reality where we can grow, learn, and actually maintain a meaningful connection. I would like to thank Future Games for the invitation, CD PROJEKT for hospitality, and all of you to give us this, your Monday, to be here. So thank you so much.
We can take some questions. I thought I would join Ali.
Yeah, we have a question there.
Yes, hello. Hello, hello. Hello, hello. Oh.
Now we hear you.
Yes, I have a question about one study which you cited in your presentation about a connection between the time, how many hours the player played, and the world building. And in this study was the critical line or something like that?
Sorry, can you repeat the last part?
Yes, there was. What was the period of playing which was tested in this study? There was something like, I don't know, 10 hours per day, and there was. Sorry, there was the line what was critical for the world building in this study, or that was only the period of time where it isn't the harmful for the player?
This study was focusing on when playing video games, how that affect your emotional feelings, and how that's correlate with it, how long you are playing. Mm-hmm. The study didn't determine when it becomes a lot or too much or a bit risky. Mm-hmm. And also part of the study, that's why I recommend everyone to read it fully. They were asking the players how long you think that you were playing, if they felt like lost sense of time. But the whole focus was how playing games and time playing games affects the well-being. That was the whole focus of that research.
There's a fantastic quote. I'm going to forget his name, but he's the head of a major games company in the UK, and he wrote an article in The Guardian, it was about a year ago now, and he said that when somebody plays a game and they save the world, they really feel they saved the world. It's not like a simulation of saving the world, they really saved the world. And that sense of euphoria you get from having done something so amazing is not to be underestimated.
And that's why it's hard to correlate people playing games while sad. It's always happy while playing games. Why is that? Because like you said, when you jump to a game, you're trusted on a mission of saving the world. Yeah. So you are immediately get this in position, we trust you, do your job, or you can be part of a team where your role is support, for example. So the team trusts that you will do your best. And that's something it's hard to see in real life. Like you cannot apply for a position, high position, okay, we trust you, you take it. It's not like that. You need to earn that. And that's why video games are kind of different in the real world. And that's why it gives that sense of comforting and well-being.
There's a famous, it's been around since the early 90s, this Bartles model for different kinds of game players. You know, you're a killer, you're a whatever else. And I've used this a few times in education, asked students, young students, was there anything missing from this model? And all of them came up with new roles. It's never failed. I've done this project maybe 3 times, and each time when you say, you know, do these divisions of like, you know, things. But one of the ones that came up consistently was this supporter role, that people enjoy playing the game where their role is not necessarily to win or to things, but mainly to support somebody else doing something, which is an extraordinarily altruistic thing. I mean, it's not because I think people have a vision of games as being, you know, kill the monster, beat the boss or whatever, when actually a lot of people really get pleasure out of actually supporting someone else doing it. Another recent study looked at how often people play games where they don't play the whole game. They just play they really enjoy the first sequence in the beginning. And that's because they get a real dopamine rush. Actually, they don't have to do the whole thing and finish it off. They enjoy the creative part at the beginning of a Civ or something like that. They enjoy the first part, not actually taking it to actually winning. Winning is not the thing. It's not necessarily the thing, which I think is interesting about human nature.
But back to your question, actually, you highlighted, it reminded me of something. The studies showed that this generation playing games at early age, so we have actually the same time equivalent to 5th grade to high school, if not more. So we have a side track happening aside. And we shouldn't underestimate that time spent playing games. And that's put us on a mission to create higher quality games and, of course, more accessible. Accessible in multiple ways, make it running on different platforms, cheaper, and accessible as features when you go in the game, where colorblind, control support, and a lot of things. So, and also the study suggests that we're not playing enough games. Right. People are not playing enough. Even though the whole idea was like people are playing way too much, it's actually not true. Actually, we're not playing enough.
That's very interesting. One of the things I always say to the students when they start the school, they're asked for, what's the best advice for, maybe applying to the school? And I say, play more games. I don't mean play one game so you're really good at it, but play lots of games. Because if you play multiple games, you'll begin to understand why these different games work, what's worthwhile. And you don't have to be good at it or even succeed or even like it, but to play lots of games, you really begin to understand the mechanics of actually how the game is constructed and why it functions for different audiences. And I think it's a useful piece of advice for anybody. Just play more games, but don't try to be the master. Don't try to be the winner. Just the variety of games is really important.
No questions? Sure.
I think this also what Ali you're reflecting on is I think. There's been a kind of general attitude towards video games for quite some time that it's a kind of a waste of time, it's very boyish and very kind of male in origin. It's about violence and all these kind of things. How would you comment about that? Do you think that attitude is changing, or do you think?
Sadly, one of the reasons I made this presentation, because I don't believe that we have much of this kind of information outside. Like if there's a parents here, I'm not sure if there are any, and maybe they're seeing this for the first time. Like while playing games, we're getting smarter, we're getting better. We're solving problems, real problems, and that qualify us to actually go outside and do things even better. The whole idea is like games are addictive and lead to violent, even though there's no real study showed that, because like violent movies been around way longer. So sadly, I feel like hopefully people in the room can spread the word, and if people listening to carry on this message and show why we should play games, what kind of benefits we gain from games. And like I just mentioned, seriously, a little bit, like people have learned languages from games, like English mainly, and a lot of just by playing games.
Yeah, no, I think it's absolutely. I remember there was a period. This is quite a while ago that there was this terrible fear that games were these dangerous, toxic spaces which were haunted by nasty people who were trying to, and yes, it happens. It exists. I remember talking to my son. He's now 20, my younger son. When he was like 12 or 13, and he said, "No, I don't worry about that, Dad, because you can really spot the people who shouldn't be there because they're not very good at playing the game." And it was a beautiful self-logic. It was like you didn't need to have anybody moderate it because it was so obvious that the people shouldn't have been in that space. And I think for me, it was a kind of light bulb moment.
Yeah, as I agree that the games have also, of course, the negative side, like anything else, even food. But the good side of playing games, it's a lot more, and sadly, it's never been highlighted. Like this image here, like, of course, there's some people toxic and really ruin the experience for some players, which is sad to see. At the same time, there's a lot of people, like here, decided to, instead of playing the game in their playing time, decided to honor someone they don't know. And that's something, and it happened in a lot of games. It actually happened recently in Final Fantasy Online. So it happens in multiple games, so genuinely players are really nice. And when you ask for help in any community, even Dark Souls was considered like really hardcore. If you stand by any boss fight, you will see a lot of markers from people just random, just want to help. And they just like do some emote and they leave. So why is that? Why people really want, just showing what nature of people actually want to be online and how we connect with those people, like I said, in different ways. And that's something what we need to carry on this message and promote why people should play games.
I mean, you do work for a company that produces a game that has been incredibly important for a lot of young women. I mean, because as much as I would like to say there's a huge variety and diversity of games out there, for this is a game that is particularly played by young women, and it has become incredibly important as a community, global community, and feeling this is a game for them, and they are participant in that kind of way.
Yeah, that's true. When we pitched the game for the first time, game for girls, some people say this is a mad idea. Like girls don't play games. That was like the conception of that. And we decided to do it anyway. And actually, by the way, I'm happy to say that actually Poland is, our player base in Poland is really big. If I'm not mistaken, it's the second biggest after US. So there's a lot of young girls playing Star Stable Online in Poland. And we're so happy to carry on with this mission, empowering, even though they don't need, but we're on a mission to be for them.
I would just to add that I have to say that we have probably a large percentage of our students every year who want to come and work for you, actually, because they also know that the company is extremely supportive and caring as well to its employees, and that feeds into the game as well. I think this is another thing that we're recognizing the cultures of games companies actually have an effect on the nature of the games they're producing, and you can see it in the case of Star Stable.
True, that's true, and that's thanks to how future games build the relationship with the gaming studios, and that's something universities does not do. And that's why you see a lot of people have done bachelor in universities, come back and study at future games to find their way to the industry. Finding your way to gaming industry from outside is quite tricky, because I have done that myself, and I keep tell everyone, if you're at future games, make sure to take it very seriously, because your chance landing in a job in the gaming industry, it's higher than ever. Why is that? Because your teachers will be from the industry, first of all. Like, you will be in contact with people, they are from the industry. Second, when your education is done, you have like we call it LIA, I'm not sure what's like an internship, where the companies come to you at the school, and that's something mind-blowing. Like, you go nowhere. We come to the students and ask them to have an internship at our companies, and if you do a good job, and like William said, it's kind of like a preparation time. So basically, you're almost employed. If you do a good job, you're done. And that's extremely valuable. That's like, it's really worth it to be there just for that connection. It's really worth it. you have no idea how important it is to be that close to recruitment process, bypass all this complexity if you apply from a website, because when you put an ad outside, we get sometimes hundreds of applications. Like, your chances is lower and competition is really high.
I can just add to that, the process that we use right now is a thing that we have called the ting. And the word ting in Swedish is an old Viking meeting. They used to have these annual meetings where they would gather everybody together, and they did a variety of different things. They gave out land, they took the taxes, they executed people, and they had a massive party where they took lots of magic mushrooms and drank mead. We don't do that bit. We do the other bits. But it's what we invite. The last one we had, like, I don't know, 45, 50 companies from around the world, and they all met with the students. We set up quick meet and greets where they show their work for 15 minutes to the companies. The companies can choose the students, and in some cases the students can choose the companies. It works in both ways. And the net result is, after that, most of them find a place where they can do their internship. And it's something we need to improve, and particularly now we're in Warsaw, to find the connections with the companies here. But it's really they're great events. They're really good fun. Those are people who've taken part in them. They're really nice. And the industry people love it because they get to meet people they don't normally see. So all the big companies hang out during the coffee breaks, chatting with each other.
And I also want to add something. Parwin mentioned what's the most extreme 5 important points when having education. What makes Future Games unique, that the courses and all the materials are actually done together with the gaming industry representative. Like, you have people from all the gaming industry tells what is required right now, what's the trend right now. So the course is always relevant. And that's something always nice to see. Like, the courses are always fresh and matching the need in the market.
Yeah, I mean, I think the speed of change is so quick that we struggle with some things. Certainly, some technical aspects, things change so quickly that we don't always have the capacity to change everything. But I think we do. I think it's really important, if we can't actually make something part of the education, the least we can do is indicate to the students where they need to be looking, what they need to do for their own self-study, where else they should be thinking of being in the future, because that's actually really important. But I think what Luigi, again, I'm very happy that what he said. I mean, the soft skills that are the alpha and omega of actually getting a good job. It's your capacity to work with others, understand. I mean, people should go out as humble in one respect, but also pushing and saying, no, I disagree with you, we can do something, we can make this better. Because no company just wants people who are going to fit in. They want people who are going to challenge them and say, well, we could make this work better if we do this, this, and this, and this. So we try to get that balance right. It's not 100%, obviously, but I think it's something that we really do struggle to try and get as an ethos in the whole education, that is what you are, that's what you're trying to get to. And I think that it's also very particular. We've noticed, Ali, you've been connected to the school long enough, and Annika has as well. Not every company fits every student. The company culture, company structure, company methodologies, company ways of working are enormously different. We could talk about that at length, and some people will fit better with some companies. It just is the case. Not everybody's a star-stable person.
100% no.
But there are some who, I mean, I know some who, from day one,
fit for Star Stable immediately.
That's where they wanted to go.
Yeah, I remember when I was teaching at one course, and I just hey, I'm Ali from Star Stable. Then the entire course looked behind at some person, is she like my sister or something? Why everyone is looking at her? Then apparently she's a hardcore player, playing Star Stable for so long, and I'm so happy to share. She's actually at Star Stable as an employee now, so that's so nice to see.
And those are those nice stories where it actually does work out. I mean, as I said before, we do also try to unlearn people so they don't just have one option. But I mean, it's really nice when somebody.
Sometimes it's like already decided, but like I really like what William said. We try to expand it and show them all the possibilities, what kind of roles they can play, what kind of companies they can work for.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's interesting. We have looked at we have courses already in project management, but I'm increasingly recognizing the importance of producer education because it's a role that is complex and it's not easily defined because it's so different from company to company. But to make people agile and flexible and be able to work in those different things and have both business understanding and human skills and all the other bits and pieces that need to go with that, I think is something that we're certainly looking at for the future in terms of education.
I really agree with that. And if anyone interested in knowing more about becoming producer or producer in general, please, we can chat after. I'm more than happy to share everything in detail. And hopefully by end of the chat, you won't say that I just play games like my wife.
Well, play more games.
Play more games.
Should we wrap this up for? Yep, and we have some lunch.
Thank you
Lovely.
so much.
Thank you.